Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday morning start-sit stream on the Going for Two Live network. We're here to answer all of your fantasy football questions, so stay tuned with us for the next hour plus, potentially. We sometimes go over. And enjoy. Hey, it's a great tune. It's super catchy. So
It is.
Thank you, Jeff Lambert, for the Going for Two Live network and for all the music and videos you give us and allowing us to do things like this start-sit stream that we're going to talk about here. So anyone has any questions, head over to the Going for Live YouTube page, Twitch, or Facebook as well, and leave your comments, and we'll answer any questions you have, whether it's start-sit or trade questions or anything involving fantasy football. If you want to ask us other questions, I guess depends what the questions are. We might ask, we might not. But yes, some random guy in the chat. I think I know that guy, Jamie Perog, which is also the guy next to me on the screen. Jamie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Got my lineups all set, so I'm ready to go.
And we've got Topher Kurt joining us.
Absolutely. Again. I am right here. The show last week didn't happen because of internet stuff and the restream update. And Zach, yep, we were down last week as well, so you didn't miss anything. Plus, I was on a lot of pain meds and muscle relaxers because I threw out my back, and I was higher than most college students. So,
hello.
Yes.
I hope you're feeling better.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you.
Glad to hear that. I just realized we didn't have the background on, the nice football-looking football field background. There we go. Yeah, now we're set. Now we're set for your questions.
Yep.
But yes, I think before we get to questions, though, a couple things to address. That includes George Kittle being questionable, and I guess the reports are this morning potentially doubtful.
Yeah, it looks like he's not going to play.
So I know I've got Kittle in 3 leagues, and I made sure last night, okay, is there someone, because he's a 4:30 Eastern game, your options, especially at tight end, are pretty limited. Luckily, the Chargers-Bengals game is happening Sunday night, so tonight, and that allows, I think, in some cases, up to 3 tight ends to be used as backup options. But Will Dissly and Mike Gesicki both seem like they're the ones to, if Kittle's out, they're good options that should score points. Not quite the upside. I had Kittle at tight end 3 this week, so tough to find that type of upside that late. In one league, I'm going with Hayden Hurst as the backup option, which that doesn't feel great. But
no,
better than a 0. Although Hayden Hurst might take a 0, so I don't know. Maybe it's not better than a 0. Amari Cooper is the only other guy. He's also a 420 questionable. I've only got him in 1 league, and I happen to have Dawson Knox as a backup tight end and tight end premium league, and because I've got Cooper in the flex spot, and that's what allows this. If Cooper's out, I'm going to play Dawson Knox, knowing that it's less, with Kincaid out, Cooper out, Keon Coleman out. Like, that's so many pass catchers gone. The few available are probably going to see more percentage of targets. So it could be a good week for Knox if Cooper's out. But if Cooper's in, then I'll stick with Cooper, and then Knox maybe seems less valuable. So it's kind of.
I think Cooper's going to play from what I've been seeing and reading. So.
Yeah, that seems to be the expectation, but it's good to have those options ready just in case.
Yeah.
Whether you guys have any like later game questionables that you're not sure what to do with, or that you have plans to inform listeners of.
Oh, I was just going to say it is a rough week for tight end university tight ends, Iowa Hawkeyes, because the 4 starting tight ends that are Hawkeyes, Sam Laporta, Noah Fant, Kittle, those 3 are out. Hawkinson's just getting back. Had a really good game last week, but it's a rough week for tight end university people like myself that pretty much in every single league, all I have is University of Iowa tight ends. So I feel everybody's pain on that.
Sorry for that. But I mean, half the league feels like they're Iowa tight ends, right? So at a certain point,
exactly,
it just happens all of them are out this week. I feel like there's one other one. Hawkinson's an Iowa tight end too, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's why he's the only one that's healthy.
Yeah. It's funny because he's been dealing with an injury all year.
Exactly.
Didn't know if at this point of the year he would be healthy. But yeah, we're starting to get questions. So Zach starting with Drake May or Jameis Winston.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to go May. I have him top 12. He's got that rushing upside. He can get you 50 to even 100 rushing points. So, yeah, go May.
100 rushing points. Well, over the season.
100 rushing yards.
Yeah.
For those points.
I've got him at QB 14. So just a little bit outside the QB1 range, but I would also go with Drake May.
Yeah, I think that it'll be, it is a good, legitimate question because 2 weeks ago, Jameis Winston went for 334 and 3 touchdowns against a Baltimore secondary that is struggling. Now, the Saints secondary does not have Marshawn Lattimore, and he was really the shining star of that secondary. I don't think Drake May is ever going to give you that big of an upside. But I think Jameis Winston also provides a lower downside. So I always look at my picks. Am I okay to risk it this week, or do I need to be a little safer because I've got a closer matchup? If I need to play a little safer, I'm going Drake May because I know I'm going to get some level of points, especially with his running game. If I'm okay with risking it and having kind of a dud week or a top 5 week from a quarterback, I'm going Winston. I would personally go May this week, but if you're feeling good about where the rest of your team is, I'd throw in Winston. Just see if you can get a bottle rocket this week from him.
Okay, that's interesting. So clearly Zach's going to go with Winston because Topher said it.
I said go with May.
I said
go with May.
Sorry,
but if you're feeling frisky,
yeah.
If you're feeling frisky, go for Winston.
But just because you said that, Zach might feel frisky and go with Winston because he said
yeah, that's true.
So officially,
so Zach,
all three of us did say Drake May. So if he does play May, he can't be mad at any of us, right?
So Zach, you need to tell us who you start. So then we know. Are you listening to which side of me are you listening to? Honestly, it's just so then we know.
Collected Topher, the frisky Topher.
Correct. Exactly. Or are you agreeing with all of us, or is it just me once again? That's kind of the play you're at right now.
You've totally thrown a wrench in, though, because now you've given yourself 2 personalities. So now Zach has to kind of not just, listen to Topher automatically every week, but which version of Topher? So
So Zach, since you'll listen to me, I'm going Drake May. I think it's going to be much more of a shootout game. They're going to have to pass the ball more. He's had 3 of his 5 games that he started with over 30 passing attempts. I think that's a good thing for Drake May. So I'm going Drake May. If that's my lineup without any other information, Drake May.
All right, we've got another question here from Kyle Senra. It's a full PPR league. Romeo Dubs, Nick Chubb, and Travis Etienne. We've got to pick 1 running back and 1 flex. So bench one of these guys.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got a sneaky feeling Chubb's going to get a touchdown.
Goal line guide would indicate that.
Man. But I'm not expecting many yards, maybe like 60, 70 at the most.
I've got Etienne at RB 22 and Chubb at 25. I mean, it's a tough run defense matchup for Etienne against the Lions, but no Tank Bigsby means he could see expanded snaps. You'll see pass catching downs. Although Mac Jones is his quarterback.
And Dearness Johnson keeps coming in and stealing stuff. He really does. Because they don't trust Travis Etienne the way that they did last year. It's very clear.
So, real quick, where did you say you had Etienne and Chubb?
So 22 and 25.
Which one's 22?
Etienne is higher.
Oh, that's funny because I got them opposite. Chubb 22, Etienne 25.
Hilarious.
Okay, so I really appreciate how you pronounce Etienne because that's much more likely the phonetic correct way. But the American way is Etienne. But Etienne has a little French influence on you.
Well, and it's because he's from Louisiana, right? So I'm kind of assuming that his family is Cajun, former Acadian, Acadian. So that's where.
You know what? I appreciate that. Good job.
I think he's from Louisiana. I know he went to LSU. Oh no, wait, he went to Clemson, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to Clemson. Let's see. So he went to.
Doesn't matter where he's from. I'll call Dion Louis Dion Louis just because it sounds cooler in French. Jamie respects the French because he's part.
So he went to City Jennings. He went to high school at Jennings High School in Louisiana. So
Okay.
Yep.
There you go. But yeah, so I think we've been debating the running back so much. I do think Dobbs should be in the flex spot.
I agree.
He's historically had some good games against the Bears as well.
Yes. And Dobbs is somebody that's always, I think he's always going to get targets. You just don't know what they're actually going to be. I think that's what you got to know with Dobbs. Plus it's full PPR. I'm going Dobbs and Chubb on this one. I'm sitting ETN. I don't trust him with a 39.5-foot pole.
Yeah, I'm trying to sit ETN in all my leagues that I can, but some leagues I have to. But if I had Dobbs or Chubb, I would probably go with Dobbs or Chubb.
I'm just so hesitant on Nick Chubb because it just seems like he hasn't fully come back from that ACL.
Yeah, and then
the previous version of him.
Jerome Ford is playing this week, so that could take a little bit from him.
Yeah. So again, I've got Etienne higher than Chubb, or ETN higher than Chubb. But yeah, I think all of us are in agreement though that you do only play one of these running backs and flex Romeo Doubs. Because like last year, I think of the Bears, week 1, Jordan Love's first start, not first start of his career, but first start of him being the starting quarterback. Pretty sure Doubs had like 2 touchdowns in that game. So initial instinct when he first got out there and was playing the Bears, he's like, okay, Romeo Doubs, you're the guy. So and he's come back to getting a lot of targets recently. So I think I don't know, maybe they change things after the bye week, but I expect Doubs to get a lot of targets again.
Yeah, I agree.
Zay Flowers or Deebo Samuel. These are both really good receivers.
Yeah.
Your team must be stacked if like this is the difference, because I almost view these guys as both must start. So you're clearly Aaron, the rest of your team is pretty good.
Yeah, I would love to see this full team because I got both of them in my top 20.
Yeah,
I've got Deebo at 12 and Flowers at 9. So they're both wide receiver ones.
Geez. So you're higher, a little bit higher than me. But I do have Flowers a little bit over Deebo also.
So yeah, I'm leaning Flowers.
Yeah, this one's tough for me.
I just love divisional games. And
I love divisional games too. Let me double check. How have the Steelers are kind of middle of the road in terms of passing defense from what I'm seeing.
Steelers do have Joey Porter, but Flowers also goes in the slot like 30% of the time.
Yeah.
Like that's how he beat the 49ers that 1 week.
Yeah. But then, actually looking just strictly at passing yards per game, the Seahawks, who Deebo plays, and Steelers are right next to each other within 2.5 yards per game of each other. So I think that Zay Flowers had an off week last week, and he's had 4 100+ yard games in the past 6 weeks. I don't think that you can ignore that. I'm going Flowers.
All right. So far we're all in alignment. Actually, no.
Yeah.
The last question I was saying Etienne over Chubb, but yeah. So we only disagree one way so far. Zach asking, WTF do I do now? But I think ultimately we all said to go with Drake May. So just I think you should go with Drake May. But that's because I think you should go with Drake May, not because we think you should go with Drake May. So
Zach, I say go Drake May. I think that he'll give you production, no matter what. And Jameis could give you a big old dud. He could.
And I did just get a notification that Kool-Aid is playing. Not that it's going to make a huge difference for the Saints.
Smash through that wall and break up a
oh yeah.
Nice. So Zach, we'll get to your second question in a bit here, but just to finish up on Aaron's question, this is the rest of his team. So Bo Nix at quarterback, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard at running back, Jamar Chase, Nico Collins at wide receiver with Evan Ingram at tight end. So then it goes with the flex spot of between Deebo, Zay Flowers, Devontae Smith, already played, so can't do it, Ricky Pearsall, Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, your wide receiver room is glorious and beautiful, and I'm envious of it.
I would make a trade. That's
what I was about to say. Like trade one of those wide receivers, any of those top 4 for a true elite RB1. That's probably what's really going to help your team. And then when Pacheco's back, then you can go with Pacheco in that other RB1.
Like, even right now,
I say, is this dynasty or not? that'd be my next question: is this dynasty or not?
Yeah, because I guess if it's dynasty, you can just trade draft picks for. You don't even have to trade one of your receivers. But yeah, and you wouldn't love to give away a receiver for a running back in dynasty, the longer term value. Although Debo's getting up there in age, like I feel like if you can get a good running back for Debo in dynasty, that might be worth it.
Yes. Absolutely.
2-8.
Wow.
I think maybe with Pacheco's injury, I could see that why that running back room has been a bit of a weakness. And because the problem is you've got, non-dynasty, you've got all these wide receivers, but you can't play all of them. So it looks great on paper, but if you can only play 3 max, and suddenly that wide receiver depth doesn't serve you. I mean, you're 6 strong that you could just they almost feel like on the teams I have all these players on, they feel like auto starts for me. Even to Cortland Sutton. The couple teams where I have Cortland Sutton, he's in my lineup every week without thought. So that's a great wide receiver room, but unfortunately, there's not enough wide receiver spots to truly take advantage. So to Jamie's point, you probably really do need to make a trade if the trade deadline hasn't passed. At 2-8, it's going to be tough to claw your way back in, but 6-8 might be good enough to get into the playoffs if you win the last 4 weeks in a row. Depends on what the standings are in the rest of the league. And again, Josh Jacobs for Zay Flowers. Do you guys take that?
I'm asking for a little bit more because I think Zay is a better asset, and I'm saying that as a Packers fan, especially with how he's been playing the last, half of the last 6 weeks of the season. I would get maybe see if they have an estimate or something, or a lower, another running back you could have on the bench, because you don't need any depth at wide receiver.
I'd give up Pearsall. If Pearsall can get you any value as a throw-in with Flowers to get that extra depth running back, I'd totally do that.
Oh, yeah.
You're never going to play Flowers. But even if you got to spend a Sutton to do that, you get a really good second running back, and then you've got 2 guys you have for running back depth suddenly. So,
yeah, that's smart.
I wouldn't try to get greedy, though. Flowers for Josh Jacobs, that's not that bad.
If it's easy to just click accept and get it done today, and then you can throw Josh Jacobs in your lineup today, that might be worth it, right? Haggling with an hour left to go might not get it done. You might have to wait a week. So to that point, it might be tempting just to hit accept, especially because Aaron seemed like their instinct was Flowers on the bench and play deep.
Yeah.
And if that's how they're kind of thinking anyway, in that sense, they're giving up a depth player for a starter.
Yeah, and Zay Flowers still has his bye week coming up. Josh Jacobs just got off of his. So that can be that, you know what? I would almost go that Josh Jacobs, Zay Flowers, just because I think how you put that in there, showing that Debo was kind of that already in his mind in the starting lineup.
And plus he has Devonta Smith on his bench.
Yeah, exactly.
Bench, so yeah.
What if you could do Devonta Smith for Josh Jacobs? Try and
probably can't this week though, because Smith's already played, so he's probably.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
The problem of having to wait a week.
Yep. So I would do Zay for Jacobs. I think.
I guess the question is, do we like Jacobs more than Pollard enough to that this is we view this as an upgrade in his starting lineup?
Oh, easily.
I've got Jacobs at 16, Pollard at 23 this week. So to me, it would just, even that 7-spot bump, I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah, I think Josh Jacobs is Josh Jacobs. I have him just right outside my top 10. I've got him at 14, with somebody that he's always going to get fed the ball. Pollard, that team is atrocious. Sorry.
And that's why, because he looks like he's getting the volume, but on that offense, is that worth it as much as maybe even slightly less volume from Jacobs? Although, now that Spears is back, he might also split there. So yeah.
Exactly.
Invest in the better offense.
I'm going. Do that trade, Aaron. Thank you for asking.
Because I think my instinct was the same as yours, Topher. Ooh, value-wise, is that enough? But then that other manager might be seeing they're really desperate for a running back. So I'm not knowing that Aaron has to do this trade to get that running back. I probably would approach it the same way if I was the other manager. I'm going to get the better value to give you the position that you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
So apparently Eckler has been carrying his team, but now that Brian Robinson's back, longer term down the stretch, Jacobs is probably going to be that better. Jacobs Pollard might be a good duo to end the season, or at least you can play the matchups between Eckler and Pollard. And I mean, Eckler does have a bye week coming up too as well. But Jacobs kind of you're trading for Jacobs to essentially be your RB1 locked in the rest of the season.
Yep.
All right, so we've got Dan, the B League Says Fantasy Football from Australia. We've got everything here. We've got a Canadian, we've got an American, we've got an American who thinks he's a Canadian, and we now have an Australian. Dan says, "Hi guys, hope you're well. Yeah, doing well. Everyone's doing pretty good here. Waddle. There's my French accent coming up. Waddale. Jalen Waddle versus Vegas, or Elijah Moore versus the Saints."
See, I got them back to back, so this is tough, man. I'm starting DJ Moore or Elijah Moore over Mac Jones in the Superflex in one league.
I can't blame you.
But I'm not expecting much. Maybe 10 points, because I believe the slot receiver allows an average of like 5.5 receptions for like 58 yards in the slots. But I think it's like a 78% catch rate. Oh, that's tough, man. I think I would go Waddle just for that upside.
Maybe I'm way too low on Elijah Moore. I've got him at wide receiver 59 this week.
Yeah, he's in the top 40 for me.
I guess he's 23 targets over the last 2 weeks. Now he had 9 targets last week and finishes the wide receiver 64. So targets don't always equal good production. But I don't know if the Saints defense is like that strong. Yeah, maybe I am too low on Elijah Moore. But I definitely would go Waddle, I think.
Yeah, I'm going Waddle there as well. Waddle has, I know he's got name brand upside and he's not panning out the way that we think he would or hoped he would, but he still is as good as, he's still super talented. And I just think against this Vegas team, he could actually start, he could do a little bit of a rebirth in his season right now.
Did we miss a question from Zach earlier? The Dubes?
Yeah, we did.
Williams.
Oops.
All right, we'll
Sorry,
get that
my
one.
bad.
Dubes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. Romeo Dubs or Jameson Williams?
Yeah.
Well, with Laporta out against the Jags secondary, I think I'm going to just go Williams, because he'll probably be the second target on the team. Dubes he could be anywhere between the 4th, 5th target.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm going Jameson. I think that this game will come down to Jared Goff maybe passes for 200 yards, if that, because they're just going to run all over this team. But I think Jameson will be the number 2 target, while Dubs is, Dubs will be a solid play. But I'm going Williams on this. That's my
actually back-to-back in my rankings this week, so definitely a tough question, Zach. I do have Dubs 1 spot higher, so maybe the Packers bias in me hates the Lions so much that I do that. But Jamie did make a good point. No Sam Laporta. We should expect targets for Williams against a very bad Jaguars secondary.
Yes.
But the hope is that you're kind of hoping he catches his long touchdown in the first quarter, because then if they get that big lead, they might not throw very much.
Exactly. You get that one Jameson Williams catch, that bomb, you're set. You're set. You're not going to get that from Dobbs. So
in B League, we appreciate it, and everyone should check out the B League's Pick'em show because it's great. Usually 3 times a week on the Going for 2 Live network, shorter Pick'em style episodes. I believe for the Sunday slate was just dropped today, and tomorrow we'll get a Monday night football game, which is Texans Cowboys. I'm sure Dan loves to talk about the Cowboys. So again, 3 times a week on the Going for 2 Live network. Check out B League's Pick'em's show.
And this is a little off topic, but I know Dan's Australia, right? Did you know there's 70 million sheep in Australia to only 26 million people? So
I know now.
Yeah, there's 2.7 sheep for every person in Australia.
I mean, you got to think of. I mean, is it that different in the States? You got to think like one farmer will have tons of animals, right? So I feel like that might not, like, you say that and it sounds weird at first, but then you think about it, it's like, I guess that does make sense. Like, I feel like animals probably outnumber humans on almost every.
Oh, here we go. There's
country.
5 million sheep in the United States to 334 million people.
Okay, never mind. I was wrong. I'm
Yeah.
an idiot.
Well, it depends on where you are.
0.015 sheep per person.
Yeah, right. Certain states might have more sheep than people, but not the whole country. Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about that, my home state is Iowa. And I just looked it up. Iowa has more cattle than people, with a ratio of 1.14 cattle per person. So it's not necessarily goats, but if you know what each state or area is really known for, then you can find out that, there are more cows in that area, or goats, or whatever.
Plus, I think it's probably easy when the population of Australia entirely is like the population of the New York City metropolitan area. So
Yeah.
like, that's, you got all those people condensed in one city in the States. Oops. Anyway, good. Thanks, Jamie, for pulling that up. So we've got another league, 7-3, again from Aaron. Have Wilson locked in as wide receiver 1 against the Colts. So Garrett Wilson. But curious if you think Higgins versus the Chargers, or Hill versus the Raiders, or Debo versus the Seahawks for the second wide receiver spot. Jonathan Taylor in the flex. Man. So my bias towards T. Higgins is, I know he's not questionable. He's like off the injury report, no injury designation. But we've seen that with Higgins before, where he still won't play because something happens in warm-up. So
yeah,
especially on a island game Sunday night, first game back, I am not playing Higgins. I want to see him finish an entire game first before I start him. And that being said, like, if against Tyreek Hill and Debo Samuel, even if I was ranking Higgins where I think he's going to finish without the risk, I wouldn't rank him as high as them. So my first thought is it's definitely not Higgins. It's between Tyreek and Debo. I'm just overreacting to Higgins' past injury history.
I have Tyreek Hill in my top 10, so I would probably go Hill.
I think I do too. I've got Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 4. And this was something I was going to mention earlier, but like the Dolphins against the Raiders, that seems like the matchup where it can get right. Like, this is the game where the Dolphins can click and figure things out. Mm-hmm. Maybe the winning last week gives them some kind of confidence. Okay, we absolutely have to, like, the urgency is we have to win this game to even have a shot at the playoffs. So I could see the Dolphins going out like, let's put up 70 points on the Raiders if we can. Do what they did with the Broncos last year. They need that game to like get right. So yeah, I definitely think Tyreek. Now that, because if you've started Tyreek through all the non-Tua games and all the bad games, like, this is where you want to start him, get the benefit from Tua. I think.
Yeah, I'm going with these guys. You want to sit Higgins. It'd be different if you had, somebody else that was going to play later, whether it was Ladd McConkey or Tank Dell or CeeDee Lamb on your team. That'd spark a good debate, and you could have that safety valve. But if you sit Hill or Debo and Higgins doesn't play, you're going to kick yourself. And Kyle has said before on this show, to don't play T. Higgins until you can actually believe he's playing. That's been said multiple times by him, and I'm all for that.
So Hill or Debo? Yeah, I think Hill's got that upside. Like, I'm actually wondering, like, Garrett Wilson or Debo. I do have Wilson higher than Debo, so yeah, I think I would go Hill and Wilson for those receivers. Courtney Harden asking, what's up? Courtney hosting the Real Deal Show, which is a great show. You should check that out as well. He has a question. Here we go. Dawson Knox or Demario Douglas?
Well, the Chiefs do allow one of the most points to tight ends. With Kincaid out, I think I'm going to go Knox. Douglas, who knows if it's going to be him, Booty, Polk.
Yeah, Courtney did ask this the other day in the league chat, I think. Yeah, because I think Tucker Kraft is his current starting tight end. You run with both Kraft and Knox. Consider it.
I would go Knox. I think he's going to get a touchdown, at least 16, 17 fantasy points.
I think Knox. I don't think besides 1 week, have you really been happy or impressed with Demario Douglas? He's gotten some receptions, had, 1, 2, 3 games above 50 yards. 4 games, he had 1 game at 50 yards. So not horrid, but nothing that I'm not going to play a secondary option in a Patriots offense over a secondary option in the Bills offense.
There were games earlier in the year where Douglas was getting the most targets. I do wonder if that came more with Brissett. And since Drake May's been there, he's not favoring Douglas as much as previous quarterbacks have done the last couple of years. Like Mac Jones last year was targeting Douglas a ton. Okay, you're clearly the alpha, and you're going to get that type of target share once Kendrick Bourne got hurt. That end of season stretch for Douglas. But if there's no safe target share and you're really just going for upside, the touchdown upside is pretty equal here. So if you could look through, I've got the goal line guide here. What I'll do is I'll see.
So speaking on that, I'm looking right now, and Demario Douglas with Drake May in has had 9 targets, 3 targets, 9 targets, and 5 targets. One of the games, May was only in for a little bit, so I'm not counting that game. And then with Brissett, he had 3 targets, 9 targets, 3 targets, 9 targets, 0 targets. So it's pretty even.
It's not even a quarterback thing; it's more the offense will.
Yes,
I think there's such a primary run-first offense that it's tough to think that anyone of the pass catchers gets safety.
Yeah,
certainly look at what they're expected to score, right? Like the Bills, their points projection's higher than the Patriots. I believe that over-under. Actually, the over-unders are pretty close, but slightly favoring the Bills. But yeah, I look at the touchdown upside. So the passing goal line grade does favor the Bills slightly. They're both above average scores. You can see the passing average up here at 70.7, the Bills at 79.5, Patriots at 76. So the flat grade does favor the Bills, but their rushing score is higher to the point where the differential is favoring the Patriots technically at plus 6.5, plus 5.5 for the Bills. They're almost essentially identical for touchdown upside is what I'm kind of getting at. So is there a rhyme or reason to Douglas's targets? I guess that'd be the one question. If there's a pattern that is there something that says we can expect him to get targets? Because if not, then you're going with touchdown upside, and you might favor the better offense with Mahomes and the Bills.
It doesn't look like there's any pattern just from a quick glance, but I can't.
I wonder if there's deeper things in the matchup. Okay, because he plays a lot in the slot. Do these teams allow good slot receiver production, from the Rams? Jamie, I don't know if you have something the stat it talks about the Rams against slot receivers. Are they a super vulnerable defense to that, or?
No, I'd have to look that up in PFF.
Okay. So yeah, I think are all three of us saying Knox here?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say Knox. Did we miss a question before that?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to.
IDP.
There's 2 questions.
There's 2 of them. Yeah.
Dan has a legit IDP question as opposed to a fake IDP question, I suppose. Struggling to fill his flex, 14-team high scoring, IDP 1, 2, 3. I'm behind the 8 ball already. Josh Pascal versus Mac Jones / the Jaguars, or Josh Metellus versus Will Levis and the Titans.
I'm going to start off with saying that I don't play IDP. I don't know it.
I'm going to go Metellus just because I'd rather play the guy that's going to be in the box more often than on the line. I'd rather start a guy like that over a defensive end. I'm looking at he plays almost anywhere between 20 to 35 box snaps. He also plays in the slot, gets targeted. He'll get probably anywhere between 5 to 8 tackles.
Whereas, I'm looking at Josh Pascal right now. Last week,
if Pascal doesn't get a sack, it's not going to be worth. And sacks are so tough to come by.
For sure. He's had sacks in back-to-back games, right? So is he on a streak where he's running hot right now? Maybe, but it's also tough to with regression thinking that he's going to get a sack 3 straight weeks. He's only had. So he had 5 tackles last week, and that was a season high so far. So there's definitely there's games where he's playing and getting 1 tackle. So yeah, I think the floor of what Metellus is going to give you from a production standpoint, more versatile, like you said, someone a defensive back, but who's getting a lot of tackles. So yeah, I agree with Metellus, and he's got interception upside, I suppose. I mean, defensive linemen can get interceptions too, but it's not as rare. I mean, he could scoop and score. Against Mac Jones might happen too. Dude's kind of a statue. But you're really banking on him like getting a sack, fumble recovery, and scoring it, right? To really make it worth it. So yeah, I think Metellus. Does that all make sense, Topher?
Yep.
An IDP perspective. All right.
Good job.
Justin and Marissa. So welcome both of you, I suppose, if you're both watching. Pick 2 for half PPR. So we got Jackson Smith and Jigba, Brian Thomas Jr., Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, Justice Hill, Trey Tucker, and Mike Williams.
Well, let's see. Pick 2. It's going to be between JSN and Mooney and Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas has Mac Jones.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm thinking of sitting him.
Yeah.
I do like JSN's matchup this week. I wrote him up in my wide receiver versus cornerback matchups. I believe JSN had 9 targets last time they faced the Niners. Let's see, Metcalf, I believe, had 11, but only caught 3. So I believe the way they're going to need to attack the Niners is through the slot. And then
I definitely like JSN.
Yeah, JSN, and I think I'm going to go Mooney. I know Denver is tough, but the way to attack them is through the slot. Also, we've seen Flowers do it and Debo do it. Mooney plays, I think, 28% in the slot, if I remember correctly. Plus, Surtain, when they're both playing on the outside, I believe is going to mostly cover London, not Mooney. So that gives Mooney more opportunity. And plus, he's wide receiver 8 on the year.
Yeah. I don't think you could ever sit Mooney. Like just look at his past 3 weeks, for example. 86, 88, 96 receiving yards on 4 or 5 receptions. He's had 2 touchdowns in that time. Just the last 3 weeks, he's been a target hog pretty much all season besides week 1. He is somebody that I'm starting in, week out. And JSN is clearly taken over for Tyler Lockett. And he is your boomer bust kind of player right now. Right now, most of the season, he's been alternating weeks. Week 1, 19 yards. Week 2, 117. Week 3, 39. So he's been having off and on weeks. He did just have an elite game off the bye before the bye against the Rams. I'm going JSN and Darnell Mooney here. I think we're all in consensus on that.
Yeah, agreed. Again, I think Topher mentioned earlier, Brian Thomas has Mac Jones. that's the argument against him. So
yes,
the deep ball upside of him catching a deep pass from Lawrence really doesn't exist much with Mac.
No, not at all.
And Jamie, apparently sheep jokes are for the New Zealanders, not the Australians. But
my bad.
As a Canadian, though, you're giving the full. You're sort of sharing it all between the Commonwealth, right? So whether it's New Zealand, Australia, Canada, England, it's all the same thing. It's all the Commonwealth. We all believe in the Queen. Or now I guess it's a king now.
Oh, I see. Drop the mic in the chat. What's up, Mike?
Yeah. So I guess we'll get to, because Mike does have a question, so we'll get to Mike in a sec. But Aaron's mentioning that so. This is a comment I made earlier, right? Like if you were starting Hill through all the games without Tua, then like now that Tua's back, you have to start it. But apparently he was smart and actually benched Hill when Tua wasn't there. So the great discipline, Aaron, because I know the league where I had Tyreek Hill, I don't think I benched him once. So I ate all those bad performances. You know what? I'm first in the league though, so I clearly Hill is my first round pick. Didn't mess up the whole rest of my team. So yeah, I gotta say Baker Mayfield probably bailed me out. And then also has Malik Neighbors. That's a really strong team, Aaron. Was that did you mention that was a 2 and no, that was the 7-3 team. Okay, yeah. Looks strong. Okay. So Mike is here and says, "What's up, guys? What's up, Mike?" Again, part of the fantasy cheat sheet that our lovely co-host Jamie is also with. And catch them on Tuesday nights here on the Going for Two Live Network. Aaron's also mentioning fair point on Higgins with the injuries. I will bash Higgins for injuries forever. So just keep coming back for that analysis. Of course, then he goes off and has a monster performance. Then I'll maybe buy into it. So ugly decision here. Gardner Minshew or Cooper Rush. I think it's ugly for a lot of reasons, the lack of upside, but the fact that either of them could get benched at any point is also like super scary.
Yeah, so I have Minshew 2 spots higher than Rush, but Rush is my very last quarterback ranked this week. Man, so Mike, I'm starting Mac Jones over Cooper Rush in a league. In another league, I'm starting Elijah Moore over both of them. I think I have Alexander. I have Alexander Madison over both of them too.
That's bad, but I think the running backs getting volume is more than these quarterbacks. Those are the last 3 quarterbacks I have ranked this week. Mac Jones 26, Gardner Minshew 27, Cooper Rush 28. In theory, I'd say go with Minshew. But if you've got a flex player you could play instead of them, that might be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, out of these 2, I would definitely go Minshew.
Any thoughts, Topher? Topher is so cool that he's frozen. All right. So yeah, I mean, he probably saw that question. Is like, nope,
he's out.
I ain't answering that one. So yeah, good luck, Mike. Hope the rest of your lineup is solid because that last flex spot isn't going to help you. Justin Pierce. This is James Cook or Kareem Hunt in half PPR.
Oh dang, dude! I got them back to back also.
I was actually Fantasy Pros kept yelling at me that I was too low on Hunt relative to the consensus.
Where do you have him?
I've got him at RB20 this week.
Okay, I got him at 19. So
James Cook is right outside the RB1 range. He's at RB13 for me. So I would say
I
go
got
James
Cook at 20.
Oh, okay. You know what? In the last couple of weeks, we've had that discussion, Jamie, where you've been ranking Cook lower than where I've been ranking him. So that's kind of just natural, I suppose.
So Cook or Hunt, man. I flip a coin, I guess.
Like I said, I say Cook. So I know Jamie has less faith in James Cook. I think part of it is Ray Davis, right? Like he's getting more carries.
Yeah, that's the Ray Davis part. I mean, he probably gets 30% of the snaps. But, I mean, Cook is the main guy there. Which one's going to be a high-scoring game? Let's see. They're
playing each other, right? So it's the same game.
The
Bills are favored, so they're projected to
I don't
score
agree
more
with
points.
that. I don't know why the Bills are favored. Just because they're playing at home?
I think so.
I mean, their Chiefs are undefeated.
But they haven't looked good doing it, whereas the Bills have looked like just destroyed teams this year, right? So I think it's the quality of their wins is why they're favored. But at home, the most recent regular season game between the two, I'm pretty sure the Bills won. So, yeah. Hey, Topher.
Oh, hey. Just had power go out for 2 seconds, and then everything came back on. So, I'm back.
Well, Jamie and I are kind of debating this one, the James Cook or Kareem Hunt in half PPR.
Ooh, they go against each other. Let me look at something real quick.
I suppose in half PPR, again, I got Cook ranked higher, but full PPR, he'd be ranked even higher with his perception of getting a lot of receptions. Although we've seen Hunt also be heavily involved in the passing game.
I mean, if you're talking about Hunt being heavily involved in the passing game, last week he had 10 targets and 7 receptions. But before that, he's had 1, 2, 1, and 3 targets.
Okay.
So last week was definitely an anomaly, and that's because they're playing the Denver Broncos. And I think they needed to do that in order to come back and have the crazy win that they did. That is a tough one. If that also props to you, if that's your team, if that's what you have to figure out for your team, I think I'm gonna lean James Cook here. I think that he is gonna be a little bit, I don't know. Dang. It's a coin flip for me.
That's funny because that's what Jamie ultimately ended on. It's a coin flip.
I think James Cook is my my gut feeling, but I'm flipping a coin on that, Or you figure out who else you can. Is there anybody that you can switch out? Because those two could easily both be top 5 receivers this week. I mean, running backs this week. They could easily both be up there.
Yeah, I'm leaning Cook as well, based on my rankings and where I placed them. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck, Justin.
Yeah.
Justin's also got another question we'll get to in a second, but really just saying thank you, happy Sunday, enjoy, and that goes for everyone who's watching, not just the 3 of us, but everyone enjoy this great Sunday. Yeah, I was thinking about the big play and leaning Pascal for the big play potential against Mac Jones. How many sacks is he going to take? How many, again, does he force a fumble? Does he recover a fumble? Does he score a touchdown that way? Metellus with the safer floor. I know, Jamie, with IDP, you tend to, I think, favor the safer floor guys. You go with the tackles, go with the guys that are sure tackles going week in, week out. I think that's why we both lean Metellus there. But yeah, Justin's second question. Lad McConkey, Jamison Williams, or Jacoby Myers? I'm going to guess it's half PPR again. Potentially same league, but if specify, unless there is some difference, let me know. Justin also has Jonathan Taylor playing in that other lineup.
Oh, okay.
That's, I think, to go with JT and Cook, I think.
That makes sense then.
McConkey, Williams, or Myers?
That's easy for me, but I'll let you guys.
Topher's going McConkey.
I do like McConkey more than a lot of people this week. But Jacoby Myers, man, for some reason, I think he's going to be a top 15 play.
Interesting. I've got him outside the top 30. So little faith in the Raiders offense, I suppose. So you're saying Myers. Topher, you're saying McConkey.
Yeah. I'm saying McConkey. I think he's becoming Justin Herbert's number 1 target. And Justin Herbert is playing out of his mind right now. So
I actually have Jamison Williams ranked the highest. So we're no help to you at all, Justin.
Well, I'm going to switch. I'm going to go McConkey. I was listening to another podcast, and one of my bosses, he's a top 5 ranker, and he has McConkey in his top 20. And he's higher than a lot of people. But I do trust his rankings a lot, being a top 5 guy consistently for the last 3-4 years. So yeah, I'm going to switch. Is
he still number 1 overall this year?
He's number 4 right now. Last week he was number 1.
Yeah, he had a streak of a few weeks in a row where he was number 1, and I think for most of the season, I think almost the entire season, he's been in the top 5. So shout out to Joe Bond at Fantasy Six Pack. Jamie and I both write articles there, so you can check out my goal line guide article. Jamie, you've got like a
wide receiver.
Do you want to share? Yeah, just share.
Yeah, I do a wide receiver versus cornerback article. So I pick like 3 of my favorite plus matchups for wide receivers, and then I have 3 like negative matchups that you want to consider maybe setting these people. Like this week, I had CeeDee Lamb going up against, I think, Stingley, plus the quarterback situation. Then Drake London going up against Denver's defense, and I think DJ Moore versus a tough matchup also.
Yeah, I'm still going. I'm still going McConkey. I think I just like him too much. I just like.
Yeah, I'm going McConkey also.
Yeah. I mean, I got him pretty close to Williams, even though Williams is ranked higher, so it makes sense to go McConkey, I suppose. Good, potentially high-scoring shootout game tonight between the Bengals and Chargers. Drop the mic, and I think he's saying it's for half PPR for this question. So, in half PPR, Ramondre Stevenson, DeAndre Swift, Jaden Reed, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings. Pretty solid team with depth. Needs 1 RB and 1 flex. The one caveat is that Mike's also playing Debo in the same lineup. So,
gotta go Jaden Reed.
I think, yeah, you see, no, I do have Reed ranked ahead of Jennings in my rankings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going Reed and Stevenson. Those are the 2 that I'm going. I think that Stevenson is the reason that the Patriots are scoring touchdowns now. I think that they're relying more and more on him. They're giving him all the opportunity in the world. And the Bears situation is such a mess, and we don't know what's going to happen now that Shane Waldron is out. It shouldn't get better. I mean, it shouldn't get worse, but you never know. You never know. So I'm going Stevenson and Jaden Reed.
I also have Stevenson ranked ahead of Swift, just a few spots. So the goal line guide, so for the goal line guide this week for both teams, the Bears and Patriots, it actually favors the passing game when it comes to short yardage touchdowns. But their overall score is lower for the Bears rushing goal line grade than it is the Patriots. That difference is also not as extreme. So yeah, both of those factors lead me to think Stevenson has more touchdown upside. And what the Bears have shown is that when they get close to the goal line, who's scoring those touchdowns? It's Jamie's boy.
Roshan, yeah.
So, Gibson's really he was kind of involved early in the season. They've really gone away from him. It's the Ramondre show.
So if I have running back questions that are really close like this, Stevenson or Swift, I go to one of my go-to top 5 running back rankers. I don't know if you guys know Sean Cornier.
I don't.
Really reliable. He has them back-to-back kind of, and Stevenson's one spot higher.
All right, so Ramondre, and you said Jaden Reed as well, right?
Of course, Jaden Reed. That's easy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you said it from the start. So I think all of us are saying Ramondre and Jaden Reed. All right, there you go, Mike.
Yep.
I'm with you there.
Thanks for dropping by and dropping that question. Drop the mic. All right, Gavin Sam. Cortland Sutton versus Atlanta or Tony Pollard versus Minnesota?
All right, so I think I gave him my input yesterday on this, so you guys go ahead.
I mean, I'm pretty scared to play any Titans player against the Vikings defense, so I'm leaning Sutton.
Yeah, I'm leaning Sutton here too. I think that Bo Nix is becoming, a quarterback that not a whole lot of people thought that he would become. And let's look, the last 3 weeks, Cortland Sutton has had 100 yards, 122 yards, and 70 yards with a touchdown. And he's averaged 10 targets a game in that time span.
Plus, he had a passing touchdown in one of those games too, just to throw in an extra 4 points.
Yes, he did. So I think it's pretty easy for me. This is a Sutton take. Absolutely.
So, Jamie, is this what you told Gavin? Did you say Sutton?
Yeah, I told him to go Sutton over Pollard, but I thought it was Pollard or Mooney, what he was asking me. And I'm pretty sure I said Mooney over Pollard.
I'd probably go either wide receiver, to be honest. Just, again, scary matchup against the Vikings defense, but also, how much is Tajay Spears going to eat into Pollard's work? Are we past the best of Tony Pollard this year when that was that stretch without Spears where Pollard was getting everything?
Yeah, Pollard's matchup isn't that great. I believe his opponent only allowed 2 touchdowns all year on the ground. Or no, it was 3 touchdowns in 2 separate games all year. And then same with the receiving. There's only 2 receiving touchdowns all year allowed.
So it has to be and I'm wondering, was it the Lions game? Because that was maybe the best opponent the Vikings have faced.
Yeah, I think the Lions got 2 touchdowns that game, if I'm not mistaken.
That's also one of the strongest offenses in the league. I'm pretty sure the Lions have the most projected points this week in the implied total. So that's the type of offense that you can't really shut down. The Titans have the lowest implied total of the week. When I checked on Tuesday, their implied total was 16.5. Maybe that was Monday, actually. So I don't know if it's come down at all. But yeah, the Titans not expected to score a lot of points. 39.5, 5.5. Yeah, it's probably pretty close to that. Maybe it's actually gone up a little bit, but still, yeah, scary matchup. And then Gavin also asked you to he came in for a bit of the Tyreek Hill talk, but is Hill still a must start?
Yeah, I have him on the top 10, so yeah.
Yeah, I've got him at wide receiver 4. I feel like this stretch from here on out, now the Dolphins are they're probably going to try and win games to try and get back in the playoffs, and they may not get eliminated until the last week of the season. So from fantasy football perspective, yeah, it feels like Hill's now in must-start territory from here on out.
Yes, I agree.
All right, Jordan Arsenault, another one of the Fantasy Cheat Sheet co-hosts. I'm just missing Reggie. We have everyone in the either on screen or in the chat. But again, check out the Fantasy Cheat Sheet Tuesdays at 9:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain, just for Gladys, even though I don't know watch this, but said that anyway. So Jordan's asking Josh Jacobs or David Montgomery. Man, a Packers fan debating a Packers or Lions player, right?
Yeah.
Of course, the Packers fans are going to say Josh Jacobs. I do have him. They're close, but Jacobs at 16, Montgomery at 19 for me this week.
Yeah, I'm also going Jacobs. And he said this is full PPR. Yeah, let's go Jacobs.
My rankings are for half PPR, but then I figure between the two, Jacobs is more likely to catch passes. So
I mean, they're so close. They're both top 20 options.
Yeah, no, for sure. Great options to have for both. Jacobs.
Yeah, I really like on Jacobs.
I'm going Jacobs here. He's the one in that offense, not a 1A, 1B like you have in Detroit. Just looking stats wise over the past 5 weeks, Josh Jacobs is getting a lot more yardage, and that's a much more consistent thing than touchdowns. They both do have, they both have 4 touchdowns over this time span as well, but Jacobs has a lot more yardage. So I'm going Jacobs on that.
Yeah, not splitting with Jahmyr Gibbs, like that volume that certainty is there. And again, it seems like when they need to throw to a running back, they'll want Gibbs on the field, and Montgomery's not catching a ton of passes, not like he did when he was with Chicago, for instance. Yeah. Not that Jacobs is catching a ton of passes either, but feels more likely that he's going to be used in a pass catching role than Montgomery would. And I mean, the Bears are so good at shutting down wide receivers up to this point that maybe that forces Jordan Love to throw to tight ends and running backs over the middle more vulnerable spot to attack the Bears defense. And the one last thing is the goal line guide this week. The Lions have the highest overall grade this week for their passing game, and it's 16.5 points higher than their running score. So that higher difference leads, short yardage situations against this Jags really bad secondary. They might actually be pass heavy near the red zone. And then Jordan just adding some context here, because I was going to say, like, who else do you have in your lineup? Already has Christian McCaffrey and Achane starting. So was leaning Montgomery for consistency, which is interesting because we almost view, like the way Topher was talking, you probably almost view Jacobs as the more consistent player.
Yeah, I just think Jacobs is the more consistent one, just looking at yardage and alone. Also opportunities. Jacobs over the past, I'm just looking the past 5 weeks. 19, 18, 12, 25, 13 carries. Montgomery 12, 9, 9, 17, 12. And Montgomery has 1, 4, 1, 3, 2 targets. And Jacobs has 1, 3, 5, 2, 3. So he has more targets and rush attempts than Montgomery has over the past 5 weeks. And the yardage and the points and all that prove to that.
I mean, both are consistent to a certain extent.
I agree.
Here, and this is again half PPR. They've only had 1 week each outside the top. I guess 2 weeks technically for Jacobs outside the top 24. One of those weeks he was RB 26. But yeah, there was 1 week where Montgomery was outside the top 30, and 1 week where Jacobs was outside the top 40. Other than that, they've both mostly been consistent with the
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can go wrong either way. I just think you're going to get a higher floor with Jacobs.
I mean, Jamie said it earlier, right? They're both top 20 running backs.
Yes.
All right. I guess that's our last question for now. I was going to check the inactives real quick to see if there's anyone of like super note that is out that people should be aware of. I will say this was a week where it seems like all the maybe questionable players were ruled out yesterday or Friday. And we talked about it at the top, like George Kittle, Amari Cooper. Those are like the last two like really relevant players that are actually questionable going into these time frames. So this wasn't a huge week where injuries, like you're really leaning on Sunday morning to find out about these injuries.
Yep.
So for the Saints, interesting that Jamal Williams and Mason Tipton are both inactives. Actually, so is Spencer Rattler. So they're saying you're not even good enough to be the backup quarterback.
You're right.
But I guess with Williams out, that means maybe more Taysom Hill as a fullback, but also Kendre Miller might get it because Dennis Allen isn't there anymore to hate on Kendre Miller all the time. So, of course, once Dennis Allen's fired, suddenly Kendre Miller is
I thought Kendra Miller was inactive.
Oh, because he's on IR. That's right.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. No, so okay.
So he's on IR, but it's kind of understood that he's not really injured.
Yeah, apparently Dennis Allen put them on IR so they didn't have to cut him. But
Yep.
as soon as the 4 weeks is done, I think he's expected to come back and actually play for a coach that doesn't hate him, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, not really seen any. Yeah. So Jamal Williams, Mason Tipson is the biggest inactive player in the early slate, which is good, right? Because all our players are healthy, like, or at least most of our players, again, unless they're on injured reserve.
There's no big questionable things. It's you're in or you're out. You don't have to play a guessing game.
Yeah, and Mike's got a good point that, like, it's unlikely to play for Kittle, but doesn't have the active inactive designation yet because it's a 4:20 Eastern, 2:20 Mountain. There you go, Gladys. Time frame for him. So I mentioned earlier, Will Dissly and Mike Gesicki. Like, those are two guys playing Sunday night, where if you've got Kittle on your team, try and get one of those two. Maybe Dalton Schultz on a Monday. I doubt Ferguson's available, but if you're really stuck, Hayden Hurst perhaps. But you've got those two primetime games, Sunday and Monday night, where there's tight ends available potentially. With, again, like, I'm using, I think, all three of the Chargers Bengals tight ends: Will Dissly, Gesicki, and Hayden Hurst as my backup options for Kittle. Seemingly like I'm going to have to use them. So yeah, that was something. Just make sure you're planned. Make sure you take care of that now before lineups lock. If you've got a random player playing at one that's just on your bench for depth, you can cut them to pick up that extra tight end to make sure you don't take a zero.
Yes.
Wait till 425. You might not. You might have to cut a good player to make it happen. You might have to cut Kittle. That you don't really want to do. So make sure you take care of that now. Go pick up Will Dissly. Go pick up Mike Gesicki. And then you're covered. And then you can just simply switch them from your bench to your starting lineup. You don't have to worry about trying to pick up players on the waiver once Kittle's announced out.
Nope.
Yeah, 12:32. Knox is another good afternoon game. That's right, yeah.
Yep.
Knox is a good potential Kittle replacement. Who is the backup tight end in San Francisco? I think Ross Welly's gone now.
Backup tight end is Eric Saubert.
Right, Eric Saubert, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually know that because he went to Drake University in Iowa, and my brother went to Drake University at the same time. So he got to follow that, and it's not many times you have somebody from a smaller, like a FBS D1 school that gets into the NFL. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Did Drake go there? Did Drake London go there as well? Okay.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't remember where Drake London went, but
USC,
Drake's Canadian,
right?
so he wouldn't have gone to an American university anyway. Right? We love Canada, right, Jamie?
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess is a great place to end off, saying happy football day to everyone, whether it's NFL or the Grey Cup. The CFL championship for 2024 will be decided tonight. So,
ooh, there you go.
Grey Cup in the evening. I know last year CBS Sports Network would play a lot of the CFL games, I think including the Grey Cup. So you have not the basic CBS package, but the CBS advanced package, CBS Sports Network in the States. You might actually get the Grey Cup game. So good luck. If you're in Canada, you get it on basic cable. CTV will be playing it, TSN. So it should be an interesting game. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers play in their 5th straight Grey Cup. That hasn't been seen since Edmonton did it, I think, from 78 to 82 or 79 to 83. And that was back when the NFL was so racist that Warren Moon had to go to the CFL because they thought, oh, you're black, you can't play quarterback. And then he went and in his 4 seasons in the CFL, either won a championship or the most outstanding player award. Then the NFL was like, okay. I think in between then Doug Williams got drafted. So then they kind of realized, oh, wait, black players can play quarterback. Wow, what a thought. And then Warren Moon's a Hall of Famer now. Both for his great CFL career, but also thankfully short CFL career, because what he really wanted to do is be an NFL quarterback, and he was able to successfully do that for well over a decade. So, but it takes that kind of Warren Moon coming to the CFL to help push a team to 5 straight Grey Cups. So like we haven't seen this it's been like 40 years since we saw something like this. So kudos to the Blue Bombers for getting there and for Collaros being the only quarterback I think in CFL history to start 5 consecutive Grey Cups. So I'm sure Jason and Travis Kelce are excited. Their former college teammate, I think even roommate, Zach Collaros is having tremendous success. I wish he was doing this with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but no, that dream died. That dream died in when did June Jones take over? 2017, 2018? I can't remember. Once there was hope. There was hope in like 14, 15 that Collaros was going to lead the Ticats to the promised land.
Do we answer this question? I feel like we answered this earlier.
We answered. It's funny. We answered 2 different questions involving these running backs. We didn't actually answer this one, right? We had,
Agreed.
I think, was it Swift and Ramondre, and then we had Hunt and Cook. So now we have Hunt and Swift. Mike dropping this just before we leave here after my CFL. I don't think it's a rant. I'm very enthusiastic about the CFL. Strangely, I actually have DeAndre Swift ranked higher than Hunt, but 1 spot, 19 to 20. I don't know if I'm crazy for that. Should I change that?
I think you should change that. I think Hunt should be over Swift.
Again, the Fantasy Pros format was definitely yelling at me saying I was too low on Hunt the entire time. So, yeah, you're probably right. Okay. Hunt's at 19 and Swift's at 20, so go with Kareem Hunt. Yeah, who wants to play the Packers defense? It's not like it's a Swiss cheese defense or anything.
See what you did there.
Oh, I've used that joke so many times. And for so many years, it was true because that run defense was horrible. Under Jeff Hafley, it feels like this defense is better.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
He actually cares about stopping the run, unlike Joe Barry. Yeah. So there you go. So Kareem Hunt across the board. All 3 of us are saying that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adjusting my rankings to say that. Yes, I have Kareem Hunt ranked higher. Thank you, Jamie.
And this might be your last week for Hunt because I just got a notification. Isaiah Pacheco is expected to be healthy for Week 12 versus the Panthers.
Yep, they opened up his window. I don't think he started practicing yet, but he could start practicing this week. So yeah, one last ride for Hunt, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you're gonna not have him as you hunt for championships down the fantasy playoff stretch. But great stream, guys. Glad we were able to get on, unlike last week with our interruptions. But everything's set with the new restream version. Everything's going well. So I missed. We still spoke because we were on here together trying to get it to work, and it didn't work. But so at least I enjoyed last week talking with both of you, even if it was slightly brief. But I missed interacting with our listeners. So appreciate everyone for joining us in the chat today, and appreciate both of you, Topher and Jamie.
Appreciate you as well.
Thank you. Any final words for everyone before we head out?
Just go out there and win because no one likes a loser.
Jamie's favorite catchphrase.
Go Pack Go. That's my sign off.
Let's go.
Go.
Very Tim Strobel-esque. In the DFS streams, which again on Friday night on the Going for 2 Live network. Guess what? There's tons of shows almost every day of the week on the Going for 2 Live network. So check it all out. Subscribe, leave comments, like the videos. If you're listening on audio, rate and review. Appreciate all of that, and appreciate everyone in the chat there. We had quite a few people. Mike and Jordan, both from the Fantasy Cheat Sheet. We had Justin, Gavin, Aaron, another person named Kyle, which I love that name. I am biased, to be fair, and of course Zach joining us. I'll leave us with this. WTF do I do now? Well, what we're doing now, Zach, is we're ending the stream. Appreciate Zach for showing up every week to talk up Topher as the great picker. And I'm glad that all of our answers, we all agreed with Topher. So now we can look good too.
Yeah.
We can all go down the ship together. But we're gonna set down this episode now. So on behalf of my co-host Topher Kurt and Jamie Perog, I'm Kyle Senra. Thank you for watching another Sunday morning start-sit stream here on the Going for 2 Live network. We'll be back next week. Enjoy your football, whether it's NFL or Canadian football with the Grey Cup. Jonas Brothers halftime show, if you enjoy that, folks. Jonas Brothers and Taylor Swift are both in Canada at the same time. I'm surprised the country hasn't collapsed, but here we go. Opposite ends of the country, though. The Grey Cup's being held in BC. If it was in Toronto, oh my God, I don't even want to know how bad Toronto would be right now. Thankfully, that's not the case. I'll stop rambling. We'll get off here. Have good luck with your lineups. Go make sure everyone's active.